it's hard to predict the future, but from somebody that's been doing it for quite some time now, you've seen changes and trends. Where do you see this thing going?
I don't know, because it's like it's a race, somewhat a race to the bottom in terms of I hope we can do better job of showing our value to the administrators, and the decision makers, because it's, you see good people leaving, going tactical or going in other jobs. And there's more people that look like us that will step right into the role, right? And so just trying to impact where I'm at is what I'm focused on. I can't control what happens to the field, but I know there's good people in it. But then also I feel like there's a way to make our lives better through it as well. Whether that's just work-life balance and not guarding a desk, and then just enjoying what you do and being around good people has been, I think, key for us. We have a great staff, and every time we can have a staff meeting, and it's fun. We don't get to do it as much as we'd like, because we're all coaching all over the place, like I said, with our 3 weight rooms and in 2 buildings. But when we do, it's a blast, and it's like go to Fogo de Chao for dinner, and like not that often, because I can't afford that
Can't
much.
hide money.
Yeah, no, not on the school's dime either. So I try to pass that forward as, like, when you're older, or you've had more experience. Yeah, I'll bring in fritters for the staff, or I'll get try to create some of those aspects where it's not just, sorry, I can't pay you more, but you have time to work another job, or do the things you want to do within that. Is that the 4 P's we always talk about, is that progression may not be like another title, but it could be, you're handling more social media, you're handling this project or that project, right? So trying to create some of those opportunities for us as well.
How have you been able to best work with your athletic trainers and sports medicine staff? And how have you helped mentor your staff to be able to model that and use that, athlete-centered approach to getting them back on the field, or keeping them, robust?
I feel really fortunate, because both here and at UIC, we had like the best relationships. Part of it is being so close to them. So both at UIC, our weight room and training room are right next to each other, so we could talk all the time, run in, run out. Here, it's the same thing. We're down the hall at both facilities, and so it's really that's great. And we just encourage them to meet at least weekly, talk daily. We do. Steve and Kim, who's our men's basketball athletic trainer, and I don't know if it was our idea, but we are in charge of this. We call it Common Ground. So maybe every other week, sometimes a little less during basketball season, but a meeting between all of us, the athletic trainers and strength coaches, and that's our common ground. And we just pick a body part and then go through what are the common injuries, how do we strength train it, what are injury risk reduction techniques or discussions, and then usually finish with a case study of a return to play on that area. And so we started that last spring, and then we were going to do like, a body part each session. We spent 4 weeks on the foot and ankle. So and like we started from the ground up, and then now we're at wrist. We're not finished yet with hand and wrist and elbow. And so it's been really good to get us all in the same room, or at least over Zoom, most of us in the same room. And then just, again, that gets back to that common language where we can talk about what does extensive plyometrics mean? What are, hinging, squatting, and then vice versa in the training room. What are the modalities they're looking at? What are, their progressions for, all right, you have an ankle sprain. What's your first line of defense? What is your process? And we can kind of understand, bridge that gap from both sides. Oh, okay, that makes sense. How about I can do this in the weight room? And we talked through some of those kind of scenarios. So it's been really valuable for us.
So working within the sport of basketball and talking about the foot for as long as you did, controversial topic: bracing, not bracing, taping, not taping, the foot and ankle. What are your thoughts? What did you guys talk about with it?
Most of us are actually anti-bracing. Not anti, but like generally don't encourage it. And same thing with taping unless you absolutely need it. So a lot of we'd just rather get stronger in the muscles and the joints. And so that's generally, there are people our athletes that will tape and will brace, but that's usually up to them. We don't make them do it. Um, my wife thinks I have a foot fetish because I'm watching all the foot and ankle videos, and Chris Corfus and Cal Dietz spring ankle ISOs, and
Yep.
so she gives me crap on that.
Have you? I forget the name of the guy's book, but wrote the book called "What the Foot." Oh my
Oh
God,
yeah, Gary Ward.
Gary Ward. Like,
I've not read it. I've only seen just through like podcasts, some of that stuff.
yeah, no, and I mean like the whole one of the things we'll nerd out here for a minute, but just talking about how forefoot and rear foot actually move in opposition of one another. Like that was just a completely new concept for me. Because you and your staff talked about it for so long, kind of educate our listeners on, what happens at that foot and ankle complex, because I didn't appreciate the importance of it until 2018, maybe 2019. So kind of talk about what y'all, did during those 4 weeks.
Oh, I mean, the biggest thing we talked about so many things, like the different surfaces people are on, kind of like we all brought it back to too. It's like, man, it's the sport practice that matters probably the most. And it depends on the sport, but like any like open chain banded ankle work is like, is that really doing anything?
Of course,
Yeah, okay, you could do it. Yeah, right. But like, so we talked a lot about the ankle ISOs and some of our favorites with kind of progressions or regressions with that. But man, and if some of those mechanic stuff is too much for me. And so I haven't got into that much because like, also, can you coach it with a group of 15 basketball guys? Or 40 swimmers, right? Like how are you going to take that and make it digestible and manageable, scalable to that? So I can't have a good answer for you because I don't know. And I'm still learning about it. Like I just got David Gray's foot and Achilles rehab course. I got it pulled up, but it's like, I really need to spend some time on this myself before I implement it with anyone, right?
Yeah, David's stuff is fantastic with, you guys had lower body basics too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So we use some of those, bits and pieces of those strategies. We had a pretty nasty patellar tendinopathy in the last year. And so really the Jake Tura's, knee protocol was huge, using that as a framework, but then taking some of that from the lower body basics helped a lot too. With some of I've used it with probably the foam roller hamstring.
Oh God,
is like
so hard,
killer. Like
especially single leg. Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the gymnasts on that, and like just kept getting them to raise their heel, and they're just screaming. But yeah, that's one of the best bang for your buck, I feel like.
Looking back at what you've done and evolved in those 15 months, what has been the biggest growing point for you? What has been the like, oh man, can't believe I did that, or like, whew, how did I forget to do this?
I think the biggest growth point is being better at home husband. Because you think about the last 3 years for everyone really, but for us personally, is we had met in 2017. We got engaged in 2019, planning a wedding. COVID pushed the wedding back a year. We got pregnant. We got married. The courthouse, had the wedding in 2021. Changed jobs, moved 3 weeks. Got a director. Interviewed in October, November of 2021. 3 weeks later, I was living in Arlington, and then moved the family 10 days later. After that, went back to Chicago, moved up 2-part apartment across the country. Drove 2 days. Our stuff was almost as all this stuff, right? My wife's working from home. Fortunate to keep her job that was in Chicago, so no transition there. But like not a ton of friends in the area with some family, and so trying to balance that. She's literally in the home all the time, and so how can I be a better husband? Split up, like better roommate first, right? Like just doing the dishes, taking the trash out, right? Like it's not.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.